Hey there, it's Tomic here. Welcome. In this video, you're going to learn the 4 fundamentals for getting in incredible shape. And I'm also going to be teaching you the 4 biggest mistakes guys make when it comes to getting into incredible shape. And this is not just for any kind of guy. So these mistakes and these fundamentals, the quote-unquote newbie guide, will be specifically for guys who are also into game, for guys that like to go out a lot, guys who like to do day game, night game. Me, as being a member of the RSD community for years now, ever since 2011, I've noticed that guys keep making the same mistakes, and specifically guys who are sort of into personal development. They want to improve their social skills, they want to improve their business, they also want to work on their health. And there's this balance, and there's always these imbalances and things that are happening where I've noticed specific things that guys do wrong, which you absolutely must avoid in order to be even able to apply the sort of fundamentals that I'm about to teach you here. So a little bit of a backstory just to give you guys a little bit of context, who I am and what I do and how I even got here and why am I even related to the RSD community. So I've been in this community for years now. In 2011, very shy guy, introverted, never really going out, never really approaching anybody, never ever speaking with, especially even girls that were introduced to me by my friends. I would not know what to say, and I was always that guy who would never step up, never raise your voice, never really take any kind of initiative. I was a quote-unquote follower in any group that I was in. And in 2011, I was introduced to the book The Game, as a lot of you guys have as well. And that got me really intrigued because all the way up until that, I thought, well, you know, social skills are something that you're either born with, it's a natural talent, and you either have it or not. And there's no way you can improve it or develop it, or where do you even start, right? And The Game was a shocker to me because I then realized, well, you know, this is a skill set, and what those guys can do, I can also learn how to do. And I started breaking that down. I started getting deeper into it. Some of the stuff was really weird, as you guys probably know, peacocking, that's all these weird nicknames that were back in the day. And I was doing more and more research on it, and I stumbled upon a bunch of different forums. And me being a video gamer before, that was the place where I would normally seek information. And on one of those kinds of forums, I don't know the exact name, but people were using nicknames like the Pussy Ninja Slayer and all this kind of bullshit. And I was thinking, oh my God, so much weird stuff is going on here. I wanted to do something normal. And there was actually a section there that was natural game. And I went into that section, and there was the first time when I recognized the name Real Social Dynamics. I found, okay, Real Social Dynamics, that's related to natural games. So people actually, doing more normal things, trying to understand this on a more intuitive level, how it works, and versus more like the technique-based approach and all the peacocking, painting your nails and using high heels and all this other nonsense that I was never really a big fan of. And that's how I found about RSD. And not so after that, I got into, what was that, a Facebook group or one of those things that was before the whole inner circle, and I found out about a community that was a couple of hundred people back there, and I got to know about the Blueprint Decoded and all the videos and all the other stuff, and that's how I got into RSD. And over time, I actually became a consultant for RSD. So I was helping a lot with some content, with some other stuff as well. And in the back end, working with teams, working directly with guys like Tyler, guys like Nick, Papaco, and other team members of RSD. And I kind of got into that and was helping out with social media and helping out with some marketing and some of the things that I do now in my business as well. And that's how I got into there. And also that's how I met up with Julian, met up with Max, and eventually became their coach and their trainer, which now I'm also working with Jeffy on his training plan. And really, this community is a part of my life. It's one of the reasons why I'm here as well, being able to even do this video here with you. I doubt that I would be able to present on camera if I didn't go through some of the things and going out a lot and doing 90-day challenges, and doing a lot of cold approach, doing day game, night game, all these things. I went through all of that while at the same time developing my fitness. And fitness is my main business. That's really what I do now. I help entrepreneurs and high performers get in incredible shape. That's what I've been doing for years now. And that's really in parallel to my development in pickup. So I have a really good perspective on really what works in both worlds and how these things need to be balanced out, because I consistently see guys making the same mistake. They do tunnel vision focus in one area of their life where they completely neglect another area of their life. And that's one of the few mistakes that I'm going to be sharing here that I see that is really crippling a lot of guys' results. Now, before we get into some of those mistakes, how I met up with Max for the first time was I was like back 2014, maybe 2015, when he was the leader of the Washington Inner Circle. And we noticed, as kind of the internal team with RSD, we noticed that, you know, this guy is taking a lot of initiative. He was organizing Inner Circle meetings. He was leading the group. He was doing a lot of great stuff. He then became an instructor. We got to know each other a lot more. And at some point, he also decided, look, man, I need to get in good shape, and you seem to know what you're doing, so let's rock and roll. And for you guys that follow Max for a while, you know that he went through 2 big transformations. So recently, we decided to take it up in even a higher level. As you can see, a lot of his posts now, it looks incredible, great shape. He's maintaining a very lean physique for almost the entire year, and we got some great results for him. And similarly for Julian, at some point after a lot of drama and a lot of nonsense, after a lot of world tours, he decided to lose weight. He decided to get into good shape, and we took care of that as well, and that was a hell of a journey. And I've got a really good perspective on what guys who like to go out a lot, they need to do. And that's kind of a part of people that I work with right now, public speakers, guys who are into personal development, pickup, and doing all these things, is there's specific challenges, right? And we're gonna dive into those as well. But first off, I wanna cover with you guys some fundamentals, because there's so much bullshit out there that is preventing you from getting results right now, from getting you the proper progress, visible changes, right? And when I say bullshit, I really mean a lot of content that you guys are exposed to via YouTube, via forums, or different even types of books. And I remember one instance when I think I just started working with Julian, and he was like, oh man, you know, here's like a list of supplements that I'm currently taking based on some book. I forgot the name of the book, but there was like 50 different supplements. And I kind of decided, you know, let me just go through the list to see what the hell is going on here. And as I was going through the supplement list, I think there was a few things that I was actually doing something positive with the body. I mean, he was saying multivitamin, omega-3s, you know, some of those things were okay. Vitamin D, you know, if you don't get enough sun exposure, that was great. There's about 40 supplements that he was taking that either were harmful, so they had some effects that if you take a certain dose that may actually be harmful for you, and in some instances, depending on your genetics and your tolerances, you can get in big trouble. But also a lot of it was completely neutral and an absolute waste of time and money, right? So when I looked at that, I was like, man, look, you gotta ditch all that nonsense. Here's the stuff that really works. And I've noticed that a lot of guys make the same mistakes, and not knowing the fundamentals is really crippling a lot of guys' results. Like things that you are probably exposed to right now is people saying, you know, you gotta do a keto diet, or let's say you're gonna run morning running on an empty stomach is the key to losing fat, that there's some kind of advantage to, let's say, intermittent fasting. You know, if you eat within this small window, it automatically burns fat. It doesn't matter how much you eat or how many calories you eat or anything like that. There's a lot of myths out there that I feel like, especially in this community, it's more like an echo chamber where one thing gets repeated and then people are consistently reinforcing it and making the same mistake over and over again, especially in seeing the Facebook groups, as I'm a member of a lot of the Inner Circle groups. I'm seeing this happen every single day. So that's the fundamentals I want to cover with you guys here. And we're going to be talking about nutrition, we're going to be talking about training, we're talking about a bit about recovery, and overall how that fits into the big picture. So when it comes to the nutrition, the biggest fundamental is really understanding is how your body operates as an sort of an energy balance level, right? So understanding what a calorie is, where those calories come from, what is a calorie, you know, where do calories are, I mean, how do they get distributed, you know, what are proteins, what are the macros, fats, carbs, and how that fits into the big picture. Understanding that your body is not working independently of the law of thermodynamics, meaning that, you know, calories don't count and all this other BS that you will read online. And these are one of the reasons why guys don't get results, because often, you know, you fall for a hype. Let's say, you know, people say, well, if you go keto, you can just eat an infinite amount of food and you won't gain any fat, right? Or different things like, you know, if you just eat clean, quote unquote, you can't gain fat and you will automatically get ripped, which is absolute bullshit, right? Which basically defies, again, one of the basic principles, which is understanding calories in, calories out. So if you eat more calories than your body is expanding, those calories have to be stored somewhere, and they're going to be stored as body fat. Similarly, if you're looking to lose weight, if there's a whole bunch of calories coming in, and if that energy is not being expanded, you're not going to lose weight. No matter what magic trick you pull and how much fasting you do, if you fast or not fast, if the amount of calories coming in is overwhelming the system so much that it has to store the energy somewhere, you're not going to lose weight. Simple as that, right? I mean, of course, there's more nuance to it. You know, some principles may make you different methods, understanding fasting or keto or different approaches may make someone less hungry or more hungry, or depending on your personal preferences, you know, different food choices. Someone likes paleo, someone likes vegetarian, someone likes more of even a keto approach, more of an Atkins approach. One thing that I would like to actually share with you guys here is that the understanding of how all these things fit into the basic principles of energy balance, right? So if you think about that a little bit, so what does really eating clean do? And let's say doing paleo, vegetarian, intermittent fasting, or any kind of these approaches. So let's say you say, I'm gonna eat clean. Well, naturally, what happens, because you ditch a lot of processed foods, you will enter a calorie deficit a lot of times, because simply the food that you're eating is unprocessed, which is very, very filling. You're probably gonna eat more protein, and you're gonna be fuller, and overall you're gonna eat less calories, leading to weight loss to some extent for some period of time. With keto, it's very, very similar. It's a very filling diet. It additionally, you know, you cut out an entire food group, so there's no carbs. Naturally, you will lose a lot of water weight because of that, and also because the diet is generally blander and there's an entire food group missing, you will naturally eat less. So it ends up being a calorie deficit anyway, and you end up losing weight. This is why a lot of people swear by low carb diets, right? And you cut out the carbs, you will naturally eat more proteins and fats. So you will, if you cut out an entire food group, in most cases, you will not compensate for the lack of that entire food group. So you end up being in a small deficit, plus you lose water. Voila, right? You lost weight. So people say, well, this is the end-all be-all solution. And it's same with fasting diets, right? Being the window of 8, 10, 12 hours or 4 hours in some cases. Naturally, by reducing the amount of chances you have throughout the day to eat food, you will eat less. And by eating less, guess what happens? You will lose weight. And these are some of the things people overlook, because they are, I mean, marketers are very much focused on the method and not talking about the principle. So people confuse these two things. So the fundamental of understanding nutrition is having the nuanced approach, so you understand what is the principle, what is the method of getting you there. So eating clean, paleo, or keto, or let's say cutting out certain foods to create a calorie deficit, those are all basic methods for the principle of energy balance. So once you understand energy balance, then you can go through all these approaches and really pick out which one will work best for you, and you will ultimately lose weight, and you will lose fat if you train, if you eat your protein, and recovery is okay, which is going to be talking about here moving forward. But really understanding that, and that's going to be a huge revelation for a lot of people, is because, you know, moving away from the sort of the newbie level, going more toward, okay, yeah, it's really that calorie deficit is doing the work, then it opens your mind toward what really works, what doesn't. Because then if you will look into, let's say, fasting diets, you will know what to attribute the success to. So the success of an intermittent fasting diet, typically people will say, just because I'm doing that, that's why I lost weight. In reality, it's because it made you less hungry, right? So you ate less food. So less hungry, less food overall, lesser meal frequency, less chances to eat throughout the day. You eat less, you lose weight, and voila, right? And the key is, I'm not bashing on any approach here, but it's understanding why it works and really how to apply it. Because once you know these approaches and the principles, then you can actually start applying things that may work for you better than some other things. So you don't become a simple follower of someone else's word, but you actually know how things work, so you can then figure out things, or even get professional help to help you figure out things faster, versus, you know, buying into dogmas or just buying into the hype train or this roller coaster when it comes to fitness. I remember looking just recently, I looked into the trends and what happens. So today, you know, keto is trendy, A couple of years ago it wasn't, before that it was. So it's almost like a cycle that it's completely going in like a decade of low fat, then a decade of high fat, low fat, high fat. And consistently in every decade, there's always gurus that claim that their approach is the end-all be-all, and then they get disproven, and then there's another cycle. And really, if we look at the science, nothing changed much in terms of the energy balance. People knew that calories count for almost 100 years now, and that's one thing that a lot of people are simply ignoring, like the marketers that are promoting this stuff. So really understanding how that works is very, very helpful. Now, additionally, when it comes to nutrition, one of the things that is often overlooked is just the importance of having an adequate amount of protein in your diet. I think that's extremely underappreciated, and people don't realize how important having a higher amount of protein, I don't mean too high, somewhere around a gram per pound of your body, of your ideal body weight, would be an appropriate amount. And I think a lot of guys get this wrong. They either eat over too much protein and then they sacrifice other macronutrients, or they are under eating protein, which makes them less full, and they don't really provide enough protein in diet, so they can't build muscle as fast. And there's a lot of other functions related to protein where that is really the macronutrient that you have to take care of. And then the ratios between carbs and fats, that is almost based on personal preference in a lot of cases, depending on your activity levels, depending on what kind of sports you do, what else you do outside of your let's say outside of gym or outside of going out a lot. With Max is a really good example. Is he has phases where he goes out a lot and he trains a lot as well, and at the same time he's a vegetarian. So for him, a very specific approach would be in a lot of times, higher carbohydrate, a little bit lower fat, and sort of like a moderate protein approach. And this may apply for you, may not apply for you. Some guys, they don't do much outside of the gym. Maybe they train 3-4 days a week. They don't do any kind of cardio or any kind of sports. So in those cases, you may not even need that many carbs. So you can go lower carb and higher fat. And it depends also on what you find tasty and what you find that it's easier for you to stick to. So these are the things that people don't like to hear, that it's nuanced, that it's not just this one thing that you can do and just get shredded. And that's not how things work. So understanding the calories and macros principle, will get you very far with nutrition. And that's really what is the fundamental of success there. Now, moving on to training, the fundamental really with training is understanding that there is something that is overtraining and there's also undertraining, and having the basic understanding of that there's a sweet spot in between where you will get the optimal progress. And as you keep overloading and increasing the amount of weight you're doing, or reps or sets, that there should be some form of increase and some form of tangible increase in the amount of weight you're using, or reps, or any kind of, you can see the progress, right? So there you can either be more reps, either more sets, or doing better weight, or doing more in less time, or any form of progression. Progression is the absolute key, because here's how this works, right? So your body is an adaptive mechanism. So once the body adapts to a certain amount of volume, that volume being sets, reps, weight, and just the total amount of work you have to do, once you adapt to that, it no longer creates that homeostatic disruption that is required for you to continue growing. The reason why you grow from training is because there's a specific adaptation for demand, right? And if there's no demand, you will not grow, right? The body doesn't grow if you don't give it a demand. There's no reason for it to grow. And that's what training really is. The training is that stimulants coming in when also the food and recovery are there. When you have that stimulants, that combined will actually result in growth. What a lot of guys do wrong is they either overtrain, so they train a lot more than they need to, so they're going consistently into overreaching or overtraining. Also, on the other hand, there's a lot of guys undertraining. And these minimalist approaches are very famous and very popular, but they don't work for everybody, right? So a minimalist approach may work for a guy who, let's say, just starting out, those types of genetics, not a hard gainer. You can go very far, but there's also guys out there that will just simply not respond. There won't be enough work there to create that growth, or maybe some muscle groups will grow while others won't. So having that understanding and really looking at yourself as an individual instead of trying to fit into someone else's perspective and someone else's program, that is really key, guys. That's what I would say in terms of training, that is the absolute key. And understanding the progressive overload principle, meaning that your training has to be progressive. It has to be of a progressive nature. If you don't see any progress, like example, if back in 2015, I was doing, let's say, a 100 kilo bench and 225 for you guys that use that system. If I'm doing 225 for my bench, 100 kilos, and if it's the same training, I won't really notice any progress. I won't make any growth. If you're starting off with 135, 60 kilos in a squat, and you're still doing, after 10 years of training, you're doing 60 kilos, 135 in your squat, you won't have any growth. That's simple fact, and that's what most guys do in the gym. That's what most guys do wrong in general with their training, is that there's no plan for progression. Progression is the key, right? Because remember, the body responds based on a demand. If there's no demand, the body won't give you anything. It's really fair, actually. So if you don't bust your ass off, if you don't put in the work, you won't actually make any progress. Great example from Max's training, I think we added about 30 kilos to his bench so far, right? So just starting, I think he was starting about 70 something kilos, now he's doing a 100 kilo bench. Yes, his chest grew because over time he got stronger. Same for his pull-ups. He started with body weight, eventually we upgraded all the way up to him doing now pull-ups with weight. Same for his squat. Same for every other lift in his training program. For you guys that are following him on Instagram, if you can even find some footage from a year ago, you will notice how far he has gone in terms of the weight he's using. So if you don't see that progress happening, you're not making any gains, right? That's simple truth. Now, the third principle is really taking care of yourself in terms of recovery. And this is, for a lot of guys, it's really hard to hear, and it's related to sleep, and it's related to you taking care of yourself in general, not just when it comes to health and fitness. There's a lot of myths out there, such as, Elon Musk sleeps 4 hours, and Arnold slept 5.5 hours and he got amazing gains. And I'm here to tell you that it's a bunch of bullshit, okay? Looking at the research, looking at the science, it's very, very clear that undersleeping will destroy your results, not just when it comes to losing fat, building muscle, but also when it comes to focus, when it comes to general happiness and how you feel about yourself. I think one study, when they looked at this, comparing people with 5.5 hours versus about 8 hours, what they found is that the people that slept 5.5 hours, they lost twice as much muscle on a fat loss diet, and they lost half as much of fat versus people who were getting adequate amount of sleep. So meaning that if you don't sleep enough, your efforts in the gym, your efforts when it comes to nutrition, you're just getting half the progress, right? So you're compromising that. And not only that, just getting yourself sleep deprived is one of the fastest ways to just lose focus, not being able to do high quality work. You can't do that deep work that really requires you to be fresh, requires you to be creative, requires you to enter the flow state. Another way, sleep can be kind of a double whammy, is not just the fact that you're losing less fat, but also you're getting a lot hungrier. So you're feeling less full after a meal when you're sleep deprived. For you guys that regularly sleep 7-8 hours, one of those days when you have a flight, when you feel like you won't be able to get enough sleep, notice how much more you're craving all the fatty, sugary, palatable food when you're underslept. I know for myself, when I travel, it's a nightmare. If I have an early flight in the morning when I don't get enough sleep, and I just am like running around the airport trying to resist all the temptation around me. And it's it's so hard, especially if you're in a cut, especially if you're lean, and if you're lean all year round. It's really important to take care of your sleep, because that's going to enable you then to be able to make sure that you're getting that progress. Now, the fourth fundamental is actually related to the three, and it's kind of encompassing overall all three principles, and that's really understanding that you are a unique individual and that you have unique needs. So someone else's plan may not work for you as good, or may not work at all. So taking a workout plan for example, let's say for Max or myself, or let's say Julian or Jeffy, or anybody's workout plan for that matter, may actually result in you overtraining and not getting any progress. It also may result that it's not going to give you the types of gains that it gave me, Max, or Julian, or Jeffy, right? Whoever it is. Because we're unique individuals, and anything that falls into the principle of the DNA, right? So your genetics, you're looking at a bell curve. So you have a curve, and there's most people are in the middle, so average responders, you have hyper responders, and you also have low responders. So those are your hard gainers. Now, if you're a hard gainer and you take a workout for someone who is, let's say, hyper responder, someone who does 10 push-ups on the floor to have huge chest, you won't see that kind of progress. You most likely will not see any progress. Or you may see, let's say, too much overtraining when you do that. So this is really the case where a lot of guys miss this point, and understanding as one of the fundamentals is eventually you have to discover what works for you. You have to understand and learn how your body works, what your metabolism responds to, how many calories do you need to eat to get to, let's say, lean gaining, to get to cutting, to get to between these phases, or to get this lean or that much muscle on. Very critical is to understand this, because there's sweet spots, and if you go too much or too little, it just won't give you the types of results. And this is where, I mean, a lot of cases, I mean, people, ask me, or they actually message Max and maybe one of you guys as well, hey, like, what are some of the, what are your macros? Well, if you copy someone's macros, if you copy someone's training plan, you will actually then be deluding yourself, because you won't be able to figure out then what works for you. So you're kind of taking someone else's approach, and you're missing the point of what you need to figure out for yourself, or get help to figure that out, right? So this is really why, things like calories and macros are so individual, is because there's so much confusion out there as well, right? That's one part of the problem, is that there's so many individual differences that people are having a really hard time figuring out things, because they're consistently taking generic programs and they don't deliver results, and they're like, oh shit, like, I didn't get the promised result. And this is why personalization and customization and having a very individual approach is the only way to actually guarantee a massive success. And that's the fourth principle, is to really understand that if something doesn't work, it doesn't mean that, it's your fault. Like, I mean, the method is the method may work for someone else, but it's simply not the best method for you. So you have to go out there and figure it out, or get someone to help you figure it out. And all that applies to training, nutrition, sleep as well, different circadian rhythms, different locations, lifestyles, lots of things involved. So all these approaches are unique. Working with, I've worked with hundreds of clients so far, and their training programs, some of them may have similar training programs, but they're very, very different. In the end of the day, the longer someone is training, the more different his plan is, depending on what they really need, and as an individual. So those are the basic principles that I would share with you guys, and you have to understand if you want to master this area of your life. So that would be really important. So understanding your calories, your macros, understanding your exercise plan, really being able to progress and being able to advance, being able to get stronger, and really focusing on that versus on focusing on trying to find this magical exercise that some guy says is the key to gains. The key to gains will actually be doing more over time in a gradual way, so you're putting more demand on the body to grow. And of course, exercises are individual, and there's better or worse ones for what your goal is, and for you, how you look, and your structure, and for your limb length, and all these other things. But the basic principle still stands. The program has to be progressive. If it's not progressive, it's a waste of time. Then it comes down to sleep, and also that's super key, as we said. And then the fourth one is understanding that all of these things, they have to be customized to you as an individual. So those are the fundamentals, okay? Moving on to mistakes, okay? So this is the part of the video where I want to get real with you guys, okay? So I've seen this happen with so many guys making these mistakes, and they just destroy their progress. They just destroy any chances they have of mastering or getting any kind of results in this area of their life. So I actually have that even written down here, and the first one that I'm seeing with a lot of people is really having that all or nothing type of thinking. So it's that kind of guy who, in game would be saying, well, I can't get a full night out tonight, so I will just do day game tomorrow. I'm just gonna skip a night out, and I really want to improve this area of my life. I'm just gonna stay home and watch Netflix, because I don't have enough time to do that 6-7 hour night. Instead of him thinking about how can I maintain momentum? How can I go out maybe for an hour, or maybe even for 30 minutes, or just go out, say hi to a few people, and come back home? And think about how many opportunities you miss out like that by thinking all or nothing, by thinking black and white. Similarly to a guy, I have only 30 minutes today to go to the gym, so why even bother when I can't do my full 2 hour or 1 hour and a half or an hour workout? Guys think like that, right? And it's super key to get out of that way of thinking, because if you think like that, you're never going to be consistent. Think about that for a second. How can you be consistent when, and because your consistency now depends on you being able to do it perfectly. How many times can you do it perfectly, right? And the truth is you can't. Nobody can be perfect consistently. So there's going to be ups and downs in your available time, in how you feel, how much energy you have, how tired you are. Everything fluctuates. So the way to actually stay consistent isn't to put so much pressure on yourself that you always have to, go all out, is by doing the best you can in the moment. So that's when it comes to training as well. Being able to do a 30-minute workout when you can't do the 1-hour workout, or being able to even just do some push-ups at home, some body weight stuff, is going to get you much more progress in the long run, because those also accumulate. So you're getting benefits from the compound effect versus breaking momentum or just simply ignoring it entirely because you just can't, quote unquote, commit to it. And I get this a lot from guys in this, especially coming from game, and especially in this like pickup community that we have, and it's the RSD community, is really that, it's okay, I'm just gonna wait until I'm getting 9s and 10s, and then I'm just gonna work on other areas of my life. It's just complete focus on that one thing before everything else is just getting completely destroyed. I keep seeing this all the time, right? So guys are like, well, I'm just gonna be going out every day for 180 days a year, or the entire year, and until I'm getting 9s and 10s, then I'm gonna be starting to go to the gym and eating healthy and taking care of myself and getting good food and all of that. And and you see, like, man, are you freaking crazy? Are you nuts? Because think about that. Like, the thing that enables you to have the energy, to have the confidence, to have the longevity in game, because this is huge, guys, right? I mean, you can have a burst of great success, but where's your longevity? And that longevity is going to come from your health and being able to recover, being able to take care of yourself, being able to relax, de-stress, work your body while your mind is resting, be able to have that focus, bring that to the table, being able to enter flow state, being able to meditate. Those things are actually the things that enable you to also get good at game, right? So getting good at game is not just doing game. Well, obviously that's the most important thing, but think about how that relates to other areas of your life, especially your health. And I would say, like, one of the reasons why I could go out so much, why I could really focus and just when I'm out in a bar, in a club, or a day game, when I'm talking with people, that there's substance in my life, right? I'm doing things. Like, I'm not just going out. I'm also taking care of my health and fitness. I'm not ignoring it, right? I'm not faking it until I make it. I'm just becoming that guy who has his shit handled, right? So instead of trying to fake that you're the guy who has your shit handled, why not just be that guy? And this is when I see this ignored consistently in the community, because it's easy to think all or nothing, because all or nothing is an excuse. Because I'm gonna go all in on this, so everything else, I'm just gonna put it on back burner or not work at all. And you can easily justify that because you're making some marginal gains when it comes to your pickup, maybe, right? But a lot of times, the leverage point may not be just adding more hours to game or practice, but it may actually be in fitness and in health and nutrition. Because here, if you just do a little bit and take it from, let's say, 2 out of 10 to 7 out of 10, that's going to be massive improvement, where your game may be like 7 out of 10 and you're trying to grind out to get 10 out of 10. Here, if you just make those points, you're going to see massive success, and you realize that how this improves because of this as well. So that's so-called ripple effect. And I see this happen with guys all the time. They just take a little bit of a break from game and just not go out every night and just start working a little bit more on themselves. Boom, like results start exploding. And that's that principle of not ignoring an area of your life. And just getting out of the all or nothing thinking in general will serve you a lot. In diet especially, a common occurrence is, guys don't know when to stop when it comes to, different treats and different processed foods. So one cookie turns into a bag of cookies. Because after that one cookie, the diet is over, and now it's about eating as many bags of cookies as I can, and that's one form as well of the all or nothing thinking. Similarly, when we talk about game and dating, it's like, well, if I can't, if that one club that I always go to is closed, I'm just gonna stay home and I'm gonna watch more videos, things like that. Instead, thinking more nuanced and how you can be flexible with your momentum and be flexible and really being able to put in the reps that are necessary for you to succeed, because you will need to put in the reps. If you take the non-flexible, rigid, all or nothing approach, you will take years to get good at something. If you take the more flexible approach where you're taking advantage of every little situation and being actually appreciative and having gratitude for a chance when you can go out a full night, which I don't think guys appreciate enough. When you get to that point, when you realize how valuable your time is, you're gonna be taking that hour and going out, and then when you go out 6 hours, you're gonna be like, oh my God, I can finally like properly go out. There's a lot of nuance there, guys. So I hope you understand this principle, because this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see in this community overall. It's more of a psychology, personal development, and fitness, and how it relates to game. Super key, okay? The second biggest mistake, kind of relates to this one. It's the good old looks don't matter, so I'll just ignore my health, right? And it's, you know, it's hard to kind of argue with this at first, because you can, you know, looks don't matter. It's actually a very useful belief in some cases, because you will not make an excuse for, you know, your looks to not take care of this area of your life. So you will actually do something about it. So thinking like that, but not adding the context, can actually be very dangerous, because I've seen this in the community a lot. It's the guys, you know, looks don't matter. So again, I'm going to eat crap food. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not even going to take a shower in some cases. Yes, guys, yes, there's people that think like that. I'm not going to do anything for my aesthetics. And, you know, that's somehow justified by the fact, okay, looks don't matter. You know, I've read once, or I seen in one of the videos, someone said, without actually looking at the big picture, why that's being said and how that actually relates, what's the bigger context. And this is, again, crippling guys' results, because of the fact is that you're using a really awesome principle like looks don't matter, so don't make it an excuse from a standpoint of, you know, if you apply yourself, you can get good regardless of, you can make the best out of your situation regardless of what you have. And the guys take that and, okay, that's an excuse now for me not to take care of anything. You know, I can just ignore my life and all the purpose that I have and all the goals now is just gone because, you know, someone said looks don't matter. Always be aware of the trap when someone, you know, when you hear something like that, when it sounds like a really convenient excuse, right? If something sounds like a convenient excuse, and if you're taking it like that, that is a huge trap, and you're gonna pay the price for it, okay? Super key, seeing this in the community all the time, is being discussed all the time, and consistent mistakes that are being made with this. And guys, you gotta take care of yourself, right? You gotta take care of yourself in all areas of life, which is actually one of the other mistakes that we're gonna get into. So the third mistake that I wanna cover with you guys is actually related to looks, and that is genetics. Genetics, it's all about genetics, right? So getting shredded, getting big, getting this and that, squatting this much, benching, deadlifting, or whatever your goals are, pull-ups, push-ups, it's all about genetics. You know, guys say, you know, I'm not even gonna try because if I don't have the genetics, you know, why even bother? Or my dad was fat, or my granddad was fat. Like all these different things is another excuse, right? So there's different ways you can approach this. You can approach, you know, genetics matter, and yes, they do. I mean, absolutely 100% they do. And you can absolutely say, well, you know, I'm never gonna be the next Usain Bolt, so why would I even bother? Or you can approach this in a way of, how can I become the best I can become, and how can I surpass the limitations that I was thinking previously that I had? How can I break through that and actually reach a higher level? So how can I even work harder now because my genetics are not as good as maybe someone who's more naturally blessed? And looking at my kind of journey through fitness and actually even game, especially in fitness, this is very evident. You know, guys, some, you know, live for a few months and, you know, it's completely jacked, while others take years. I mean, I'm the type of guy, you know, I took a long time to progress. And number one, I didn't know what I was doing, and there was just kind of a lot of trial and error in the first year. But at the same time, you know, I had friends, you know, that were just they walked into a gym, they were jacked, right? And yeah, I mean, I could feel bad because that guy is jacked and I'm not as jacked as he is. But at the same time, what I took that as, you know, well, okay, so he doesn't have to work as hard. I do, so I will put in the extra work. Same with games, same with pickup, right? I met a lot of guys, natural born, you know, people's person. You know, they're very talkative. They always, you know, very extroverted. They can always connect with people very fast. High levels of empathy, awesome, right? Great to do this. And actually what happens, a lot of those guys gave up, right? A lot of those guys never really pushed themselves to become the best that they could because they got content and they settled for actually very mediocre results. And the same in fitness. A lot of those guys that were naturally blessed that I know from back in the day, they're still doing the same old and they never actually made any progress. And over the years, as I've been improving myself and working hard and hard and hard and grinding, I've actually managed to surpass them in everything, any category, just through very hard work and to applying myself and getting to those 10,000 hours of mastery. And of course, if that guy then decided, okay, I'm gonna get serious and I'm gonna really nail Mario, well, yeah, sure, you know, he could definitely do it in much faster than I have, but most of those people will not really do it. And it's not even a fair comparison, but I'm just giving you guys an idea that, you know, one thing can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. And for us as an individual, you know, you always look at what are the assets that I have and that I can leverage and make myself better. And this is really what the fitness kind of industry is. It's kind of to blame for, is that you will always see guys saying, you know, oh, this works for me, so it will work for you, or this is me, so I'm gonna make you feel bad, and here's my jacked picture, here's me shredded. And a lot of people actually misunderstand that. They're like, okay, well, I'm never gonna be like that guy, so I won't even try. While you should actually look at it more as an inspiration. So when you see a picture where, I don't know, Max is super shredded and jacked, that's inspiring, right? You should be like, well, you know, I need to step it up. Instead of thinking, well, you know, Max has the genetics, you know, he's from Austria and Arnold Schwarzenegger was from Austria, so maybe, you know, that's related. Some bullshit like that. We've seen a lot of different things. And there are some guys even state steroids, you know, like, it's just absolute bullshit. You know, a guy that hit, like, the body fat, the weight, and the amount of experience, what weight he's doing, it's absolute nonsense. But the guys will always look for an excuse, right? They will always look for an excuse not to do things that it requires them to do. And that's really the fourth mistake that I've noticed is guys settles for average, right? A lot of guys in this community will settle for average results in fitness. They will settle for average results in business. They'll also settle for very mediocre results when it comes to game and never really taken it to the next level. So that's the fourth mistake. And I don't know, I've just never really understood that. It's really difficult for me to understand, but I just noticed there's a huge mistake that some people, they have something driving them from within that they really recognize when they're not stepping it up. And it's almost like this fire burning inside and it's like, look, dude, you're not living up to your own standard. And it just keeps them driving forward, right? Same as, let's say you guys, I mean, you follow Max and he's a really hard worker and grinder. He's never really 100% satisfied. It's almost like he's satisfied at the same time and not satisfied at the same time. I'm very similar to that in very similar nature. Like I'm consistently working on improving, but at the same time being grateful for what I currently have, but I'm not looking to settle. When I notice that I'm settling, I just don't feel good. And I've noticed over the years that a lot of guys will actually fall in this trap over time after a lot of failures, after a lot of trial and error. They're just going to be settling, okay, well, you know, it never really worked out, so why even bother? You know, I'm already happy where I'm at. And I'm not saying that you should consistently grind, you know, until death, and maybe you should, and maybe that's who you are, and not everybody is going to be into that kind of stuff. But beware of being content, beware of settling for average results when you don't have to. And same in fitness, you know, everybody can have a six-pack, you know, everybody can get very lean, right? When I'm saying that, right, it doesn't, when I say, what are you going to have a six-pack when you lean out? I can't guarantee that, but you can lean out and see what you have, right? You can not settle for average, not settle for that skinny fat or just skinny or that overweight physique. Why not see how good can you become? Why not see where you can take it? Why not see what's your full potential? And that's what's really bothering me when I see a lot of guys, especially in game and especially in business and fitness, they're never really seeing what their full potential could be. And then you have all these kinds of regrets and all these kind of cognitive dissonance issues when people try to justify why they couldn't get better results. And it's really a mindset thing, right? It's really a mindset thing where you're not setting high standards for yourself and you don't have a mentor or someone to set those high standards. And this is where those results are just not going to happen, right? If you don't have someone to show you a better way or show you a better path or a higher goal, oftentimes we don't pursue it. And we have a lot of limiting beliefs what we can do. even if you're the most optimistic guy, you know, most guys don't actually believe that they can date the types of girls that they really want to date. You know, they don't have that belief. Same in fitness. You know, most guys would love to have a six-pack and just walk around lean all year round, but they just kind of have that subconscious belief that it's not possible for them. And I'm here to actually dispel that, and I'm here to not tell you that you will get absolutely the exact type of girl that you say, okay, that's the one, or the same exact type of body that, I don't know, Thor has. But you can get the type of body that you can have. You can get the type of girl that you can have if you take yourself and improve yourself and level yourself up as a video game character. You know, you're your own video game in this instance. You can level yourself up and get to that highest position where you can be, and then you can see how that goes. You know, a lot of people say, you know, okay, you know, being lean is not for me, or dating a really, really attractive girl is not for me. And if you actually ask how many people have actually gotten there, most of them haven't. Get the body, right? Get the amazing body. And if you're not interested in it anymore, well, just don't do it anymore. But get it and see for yourself how far you can go and how you feel when you have it. And then you have something to base your decisions on, right? Instead of giving up and using it as an excuse, well, you know, it's just not meant to be and I'm not even gonna try. Not trying is the problem, right? It's not the problem with what the results you get when you try hard and you work hard and you seek mentors and you know, help with any area of your life. And I got help. I mean, I was in numerous boot camps. I mean, I watched a ton of videos. I have all the RZ products. I've watched all that stuff to improve myself. I can't do it alone. I mean, for me, it would take decades to improve, and I would never even be here if I didn't actually go through all of that stuff. And same in fitness, right? You sometimes need someone to push you, and that's really what happened with Max and Julian initially. I mean, they kind of were already, you know, doing different things, but they never really pushed it. And when they reached out, you know, I told them very honestly, look, man, let's take it to the high level, right? Let's take it to an elite level. Let's see where this can go, right? Let's not settle for average results. Let's see what is the goal that you can achieve, and let's keep pushing that. Let's go beyond what is considered possible right now, because a lot of those shifts, when you start getting into that zone, oh my god, you know, I can't believe that I'm actually looking like this, you know, in photos, and you see yourself, oh my god, you know, it's actually possible, which then enables you also in other areas of your life to realize that you've been putting limitations on yourself, and your self-image wasn't the type that will actually get you to that high level, and that was the initial problem. It's a lot of things, and I've seen this settling for average mistake for a lot of guys. And we're going to end it here, actually. That's the last one that I have for you guys. And I think that those cover a lot of the problems that I've seen in this just community, and overall being a member of the community myself, going out a lot, doing fitness at the same time, you know, working in my business and doing all these things. And I've seen a lot of everything that I just told you guys about happen hundreds of times with hundreds of guys. And all around the world. This is not just with one inner circle, you know, it's everywhere. And it's very common. It's very interesting how that happens. You know, people settle for average even though they've never met each other. It's kind of like a natural human tendency. And to avoid that, it's really, really important. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Some of the fundamentals, some of the mistakes, and as I said earlier, you know, sometimes it's really about mentorship and having someone, you know, create that breakthrough for you so you can actually see that big vision and see that big goal, and someone to actually help you get there. And that's really what I've been doing for Max, for Julian, and for Jeffy, and for hundreds of other guys, and a lot of guys actually from this community have already worked with me as their mentor. And that's really what I'm inviting you for as well. You know, if you're interested in help when it comes to health and fitness and high performance, and really designing that lifestyle that combines the big three: your business, your career, your dating, and your social skills, and your fitness and health, reach out, right? And you guys, especially who watch this video, who are coming from Max, you can reach out to me directly, and we'll see what we can do, right? We can see where you need to go. We can assess your situation. I mean, I'll give you a very, very honest and brutally honest answer of, you know, have you been slacking? You know, have you been making those excuses? And if you have, I'll tell you. I will not sugarcoat anything for you. So reach out if you're interested in getting some help with this. And thank you for watching the video. Hope this was valuable for you. Hope you guys learned a lot. And definitely keep following Max and the rest of the RSD guys. I mean, great content out there. I watch a lot of the videos. Maybe if you guys saw me somewhere in the comment section, I've watched that kind of stuff. I apply a lot of it. It's made my life better, and I definitely am grateful a lot for what I've learned from guys like Tyler. And you know, he was the first guy that I got into RSD with, and really I learned a lot from him. And we had a chance to speak a lot of times. And great guy overall, and I learned so much. So yeah, keep learning from the guys, right? Always keep learning and advancing from people who are ahead of you in some domain, and that is really what's going to keep pushing you and taking that life to that higher level that is possible for you. So yeah, as I said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Fearless.